Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, host of the Praxi Pod. And today we've got a special episode to end 2024. There's been a lot going on in 2024. And welcome to Edosa Odaro. Hi, Edosa. How are you?
Hi, Andrew. Yes, very good. Very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. Thank you.
No problem at all. And as for people that we've been watching over the last few weeks, we've been publishing some what we call the gift of insight, given Praxi's current tagline is empowering insights now. We thought we'd, talk to important people in our ecosystem. And Edosa is one of those people, and on our advisory board, an esteemed member of our advisory board, and obviously a very experienced practitioner and published author. I know there's stuff coming up in 2025, but I'll let him reveal that later. Yeah, two questions for today really are, keep it simple, is what is your biggest insight from 2024? There's been a lot going on, as you know, I think even more in the kind of data AI, Gen AI world in the last 12 months. So, based on your travels, based on the kind of conversations you've been having, based on the things you've been exposed to, what would be that kind of insight that you could share with the audience today?
Single insight for 2024. Oh my goodness, no pressure. I think there's just so much going on, And actually, you can think about that from multiple dimensions, everything from obviously tech world as to everything's being released out there and everyone playing catch up and, everyone embedding everything to actually looking at it geographically as well and looking at what's happening in region A and in the US and all the big powers in the US. And there's almost like a geopolitical dimension to things, isn't there? Right now, actually, I did one of my strategy pieces looked at a little, I suppose, side-by-side comparison between what GDP growth looks like on the one hand, as compared to actually what AI and Gen AI growth is looking like and how that could change that trajectory. So there's a huge amount of things going on. Obviously, the Middle East is doing its thing. There's stuff going on in Africa. So tons of stuff. But actually, if there was a single word, I would actually say 2024 was noisy would be the word. There's so much going on. And really, how much progress was actually being made? There's a big question that was being asked. So where was the actual value? And I think that most of the executives I speak to, quite a few, and executives, CEOs, and across the C-suite, but also even politicians. I'm speaking to people in various countries and at various positions. The real challenge is everyone's adjusting and trying to understand where's all this going to land, but no one's kind of out there saying, you know what, we'll crack this, and here's what it looks like. So I think that and that doesn't even touch on the individual human dimensions to things, like what that's doing to how people feel, what that's doing to jobs, people's foresight around, where humans fit into the broader picture. What's it going to do to jobs? Is it going to enhance it, or is it actually going to kill jobs? So it was a whole lot of noise would be the one word for 2024 from my perspective.
So just jump in. So does that mean we need to get some noise cancelling headphones for a Christmas or New Year present? Is that the big?
Well, I think to some degree, I think really what 2025, I would say, if you take the kind of noise narrative and cross that sort of boundary into 25, then I would be saying really what we really need, noise cancellation, or maybe another way to think about it is focus. Really, can we get some focus? Can we actually start to think, why does this all matter, right? Where is the actual value coming from? What is the way to, is it an investment question? Is it a skills question? But actually beyond that, I touched on the piece around jobs, human, where does it all kind of fit? Is it man machine? Is it, all of these fundamentals? And I think that's where we are going. I think we've talked about AI, Gen AI more specifically being, I suppose at the start we thought about it being a tech revolution, and it became a digital revolution as a lot of people started to realize with the whole kind of chat interface and all that kind of thing. But I think really more and more, it's really becoming clear that it's two other things. Without a doubt, of course, it's going to be a corporate and business revolution of sorts, because people are going to have to think about doing things in different ways. But also, I think it's also a cultural revolution as well. It's just, how are people interacting? What does intelligence look like, right? So how do you, of course, there's a corporate dimension, and we know that, but even think beyond that, right? Think about, how do you evaluate academic knowledge? I mean, are we going to be able to, are we going to have to shift the way we think about, what an essay looks like? What's a good essay? Or are we going to have to think about, what does, I suppose, an interview process look like? How do we evaluate, what is a good sort of, candidate and someone to come in to do a job? So there's a whole raft of things. But I think the main thing for 2025 has got to be a way to narrow things down to fact focus.
Mm.
And to do that, of course, we need to think about value, pounds and pence, dollars and cents, or wherever you are in the world. But also, that extends beyond that into, to some degree, what I was just talking about just there, is values, really. So beyond the value in dollars and cents, we need to think about, how does it impact, I suppose, I sound huge, but indeed that's where we are. How does it impact humanity? How does it impact our relationships? How does it impact how we interact, and what we perceive as actually value in itself? So there's almost a redefinition that the next year is looking to have. But I think when we bring that back to tech, it's really that tech has got to be able to help us answer those questions. So when we're going into a CEO, when we're going into a CTO, going into any of those people who actually ultimately tasked with delivering on these these new definitions, tech has got to be able to support those individuals, support them in delivering against their new ask, because guaranteed the ask is set to change in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to play back what you said, I think it's because obviously there's a lot more awareness. Yeah, there's a more awareness and interest in technology, AI, Gen AI data. Yeah, at the board level, they're not. I get the sense they're not playing lip service to it anymore. They're realizing there's a potential with it. There's an opportunity with it. Yeah, I think it's a great one for 2024. Is about the noise. I need to get some. I think we should create a Praxi swag store for Q1, don't we, next year? Say, get your Praxi branded noise cancelling headphones.
Absolutely.
In purple and pink corporate colours. But I think that's the thing, is that then, I was just thinking when you were talking about, how do you stack rank, the opportunities or risks that you're gonna have to go after, and then how do you properly prioritise about, because you're gonna have, I presume you're not going to have an unlimited amount of funds. Back to the investment decisions, you're not going to have an unlimited amount of people. However, with these new kind of, these agents and stuff like that, and the tasks, the job, where does the jobs to be done go? Yeah. Who does what? So, and where does that new workforce look like?
Yeah,
I think it's a great. I think you raised some, very pertinent points there around what's the, I don't know what you call it. I don't know. What's the organisation structure of 2025? Embracing these initiatives that have been the noise of 2024. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And actually, I would like to stick to this whole thing around noise cancellation. What are those things that are going to help you cancel the noise, right? And so there's something about tech for tech's sake, right? That's, if anything, is going to increase the noise levels, right? If what we're trying to do as a tech organization, what I think the focus has got to be is around, how do you simplify the message? How do you get right into what the problem is that you're trying to solve, right? So if you're able to get tech that perfectly matches that set of problems that are now being defined, right? I think we already sort of set out that the problems are going to change, the asks are going to change. So what you really want is something that is able to identify and help you actually identify what those problems are, and then solve against them, right? In a very targeted sort of fashion, as opposed to, here you go, here's some big foundations, let's go sort it out, go do the matching yourself. But actually, this is something that is able to start with problems. What are your new problems you're trying to solve? But given what we've seen, actually, back to the noise of 24, we could see that nothing stayed constant. I mean, it was always changing. And that means that,
That's what I was going to say was I felt there's been a lot of overwhelm.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because of the noise, it's been like a tsunami. It's been like a Twitter, it's not, you can't say, an X, the fire hose effect. And everybody feels a bit like that. And how do you switch off the fire hose for a little second so you can actually critically think, and then prioritize properly, but also get really granular, the problem and the value and the how you are going to fix it, because there's also there's lots of choices as well about me, we can solve it, yeah. So that's also another dilemma. If we go back on, we change our roles and we go to the other side of the table, yeah, where we used to be before, we're actually receiving these silver bullets, we're going to call it, yeah. That's the work that's going to be done now, isn't it? Because otherwise the focus is not going to go. You're still going to have this tsunami of noise.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because you would think, and a lot of people say that, right? That with all the progress that we seem to be making, or all the technology that seems to be being churned out, you would actually feel that we're making progress. But actually, when you speak to a lot of the execs out there, it feels chaotic. It feels like, are we really going forward? They're not quite so sure. And I think one of the biggest underestimated things around this is, like you were saying, how do you know what is right for solving my problem? How do you get the right, in some ways, the right advice? Because that's precisely what people are looking for right now. Because there's no shortage of tech right now. It's actually more around, and clearly there's no shortage of problems. If anything, problems are evolving at speeds that are difficult to comprehend at the moment. In the same way as technology, on the other hand, is evolving, and it's literally dizzying for most. And the real question is, how do you then, as tech leaders, or as advisors, or as people who are trusted by those who are tasked with actually delivering against these problems, how do you help sort of marry these two sort of very quick and very dynamically moving parts? Like I say, the problems on one hand moving, and value system, and what we're thinking is good and what's not, and how we're actually able to deploy on the one hand, and on the other hand, all this technology moving, and everyone's playing.
Well, the thing is also as well, you've got to think about the timeline as well, haven't you? Because the thing is, otherwise, 2025 is going to be whoosh. It's going to be gone.
Absolutely.
And you can't keep watching this kind of travelator of new shiny toys coming down the travelator. It's like a generation game. We've got cuddly toy. We've got a cuddly toy with AI. Set of golf clubs with AI. Wine rack with AI.
Exactly.
So that's the other executive, I suppose, challenge I would observe with it as well. It's you've got to do your due diligence and then commit and then get some value done or some impact done, and then work out. I mean, I think that's the that's the juicy bit, isn't it?
No, I think you're right. But I think what makes it even more complicated is, as on the one hand, yes, you've got problems and you've got solutions that you want to match up. That's, in some ways, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's kind of doable in a stable world, is right. I think the added dimension here is that actually things aren't stable at all, right? The problems are moving, solutions are moving, right? So you've got an additional element there of adaptability. So solve the problems for today, but how can I ensure that you're going to keep solving the problems as they evolve, as the problems themselves evolve, right? So you've got to be able to then deliver, if looking at it again, going back to from a tech perspective, something that not only is agile enough, should I say, to solve the problems, specific problems, and can deliver very quickly against us, but also be able to be clear that those problems aren't in themselves static. It's a moving playing field, right? You cannot.
There's also a risk about obsolescence, isn't there? There's also a risk about dead ends. How do you make those trade-offs? Because you can keep watching, you never do anything. You're going to get the wrong feedback on that one, and then if you select the wrong partner or solution or whatever you want to call it, then you may have to reverse up and go down another track in the future. So it's it's not an easy balance, as you point, because you've got these spinning wheels on both sides of the equation. That's what you're saying, basically, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And when you think about it from this standpoint of adaptability, then I think the winners really, there'll be lots of, unfortunately, losers, but I think the winners are actually going to be ones who actually start to think differently, especially within tech, away from the idea of a vendor who comes in and sells you a bit of kit and then it's goodbye for the next 5 years, to ones that actually move away and move towards being partners. Because if you're thinking adaptability, you got to be in that journey. You've got to be sitting alongside.
Yeah, you've got to be innovating together. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So the whole complexion of those relationships changes. It's not a matter of I've got an account, manager somewhere, or account exec who comes in every 3 years for a renewal of some sort. It's actually, and it's not even the same. You're not looking at static tech anymore. You're looking at adaptable tech. You're looking at.
But that's interesting. So that begs a question in my head was about the feedback loop, right? So does that then play into the fact that smaller, startup scale-up organizations, rather than traditional large enterprises that you deal with, that you select from, because it's seen as a safer option, that's going to be an interesting discussion as well, isn't it? About do you adopt something that's maybe more emerging, because actually you can see the path to value quicker and more manageable than actually adopting something which may be a big, well-known brand but may not have the maturity of the innovation. That's another interesting dimension to us factor into it as well.
It absolutely is. I wouldn't go so far as say is one way or the other, but I think the one thing that must sit in between and amongst that is absolutely has to feel like that. It has to feel adaptable. It has to feel trusting. You have to be able to trust that this is something that a partnership is going to grow with you, right? Because you have to appreciate that. And by the way, the one thing we must, another layer, should I say, on top of it all, is that you've got to be doing all of these things with value, i.e. net value return in mind, right? So it's not a wad of cash sitting out there just looking to experiment anymore, right?
So the payback, the IRR, all the kind of business case metrics, you've got to be on top of that, and you've got to have your finance team engaged in that as well. So you've got that kind of partnership internally as well.
Absolutely. And so that then paints this, broader picture around you've got to be in there, preferably skin in the game. You're in that journey with the partners, with the executives. Ultimately, it's the executives who are actually giving this, have this mandate to deliver against this tsunami of problems evolving as we speak, right? So you've got to be in there, and of course, you've got to have the capability to back that up and actually evolve your solutions alongside the problems as they emerge.
But you've also, I was also thinking about when we started going down that route was about actually what's about the absolute numbers versus the range, yeah. Because some of this stuff you're actually going to be breaking new ground. You're going into white spaces with new capability, potentially new problems, which is uncharted territory. You could say uncharted waters. And how do you account for that in the justification and how you measure the success of the outcome as well? So I think that's another fascinating dimension as well, because you've got these, the analogy of the two spinning wheels on both sides of the equation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think this is where it really brings problems back into focus, because it's it's almost rather than think of what's the value of the tool or the tech or whatever else, it's always going back to what's the value of the problem itself. It was the value of either solving
is it worth going after
or not. Exactly. And that's what you're investing in, really. You're investing in problems, either not solving or solving, right? And really it's looking at, what's the benefit of solving this or what's the risk of not? And that's really where focus needs to be. And I think, unfortunately, too many have, remove themselves from this fundamentals around actually ultimately what we're trying to do here is problem solve.
I can feel the stop, start, continue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Car park drain. How many problems are we going to put down the drain? How many things are we going to put in the car park? How many are we going to continue to try and solve? How many are we going to start and how many are we going to stop?
Absolutely.
And in my experience, nobody wants to stop any. They want to continue all of them. And they will start lots of new ones, and they don't want to put anything in the car park, and definitely nothing down the drain. But apart from that, it's clear as mud. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That's, I think the CDOs, the CTOs, the CIOs are going to be really successful are ones that really run their organizations as literally owning the P&L. To my mind, a lot of the guys I speak to, that the kind of, it's a strange thing to say. I mean, people are getting bored. Really, I know there's lots changing, but people are just getting bored of all the fancy, I suppose POCs, POVs, all the fancy tech kind of out there. It's kind of nice on a personal level. It's nice to have something on your phone you can play with, but
Well,
ultimately,
you become numb to it, don't you? Because it's just been so back to the noise point. It's just you become, I don't know, I don't know if you switch off to it, but you kind of become ambivalent towards it.
yeah, but if you think about it as a C, I mean, you've been in lots of interesting places yourself, Andrew, haven't you? And ultimately, at the start of the year, you set a number of, I suppose, objectives as a C-level exec, right? And it's great to have all these demos and things like that, right? But if ultimately you're getting into Q2, Q3, and you're not seeing problems solved, then you're not going to be, excited, very, very excited about this tech, right? So I think ultimately it's got to boil down back to that. What are we solving, right? And regardless of what,
So it sounds like not just doing detox. Maybe you've got prioritization detox, problem detox, but you've also got discipline in January, February to really, really knuckle down and do some critical thinking around what really, really matters. Maybe that's a good, which is back to your focus point, isn't it? It's about don't defer it. Don't be in March and you're not got that nailed down. Otherwise, you're going to be, you might not be able to, you might run out of runway. Yeah, that's the problem. So
absolutely, I'm afraid so.
fascinating. That's great. No, love those two actually. So noise and the special swag store, obviously, that's coming in 2025.
Noise, noise
Noise.
and focus, and the way to get from one to the other.
Exactly. Yeah, this rickety bridge. It's like it's a bit like something like like Harrison Ford, in the Temple of Doom. It's
Indeed.
anyway. No, that's great. Thank you for coming on that special episode before New Year. We'll be publishing this before New Year, so and we'll make some little short videos, and then we'll publish the longer version, the full Monty, on our YouTube channel. So that was Edosa Odaro, esteemed author, best-selling author, and basically what do you call it? Data. Well, basically, I dare ask you how many. I know you've got a map behind you. I dare ask you how many countries you've been to. But I know that you're always usually traveling somewhere, and it's always very, very interesting what you're doing. So, thank you for being part of the Praxi Pod today, and thank you for continuing to be a part of the Praxi family and sharing your insights and feedback on our journey with Praxi and at the advisory board. And let's make 2025 an amazing year. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, and wishing you a happy new year in advance. It's almost here.
Exactly, and we're all getting excited about those noise cancelling headphones as well. You see, so you're better.
I'd love to get one in the post.
Well, I know you're good at headphones, so I have to honour this now. So we have to get these. We all every call we've got these special branded ones on. But thank you again, Edosa. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and that was Andrew Turner, host of the Praxi Pod. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.